Studying the Word of God can be difficult. One of the easiest ways to study the Bible is one verse at a time, but at times it can seem overwhelming. Our goal in this podcast is to wrestle with the text and dive in deeper. We pray that this edifies you and empowers you to fall deeper in love with the Bible and Jesus. Welcome to Everyday Theology.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this new episode for this season as we walk through the different steps of practical Christian living. What do Christians do? How do you live out the Christian life? And we've been walking through what we have at times called these pillars of the Christian life, these different ways to live out our faith. And for our time for this episode, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, giving. Giving money. That's right.
Like, was there not a soundbite for this? Like, there's such a delay.
Yeah, there's got to be. I don't think he was expecting that there was going to be an opportunity.
I need a cash register.
Really, is woo it?
We need to play the beginning of the Pink Floyd song "Money."
What do you mean I wasn't expecting?
That's what that is.
What? I'm always ready to do a soundbite.
I know you're right.
I have proof here. Braden has spoken.
He doesn't need a setup.
He doesn't. You're a pro.
I don't even know what that was from. So anyway, as we've been walking through these phrases, worship faithfully, grow spiritually, all of that. Today we come to give generously. That from open to close, the scriptures are very clear of God's expectations on His people to be givers, to be generous with who they are and what they have. Money is an aspect of that. It's not the only aspect of that. So in our conversations, obviously we'll be talking about financial resources, but this goes far beyond that. Generosity at the end of the day is a lifestyle, not just a financial principle. So let's just start the conversation, guys. We've off camera, off recording, we had already talked about some different things. So what do we need to talk about when we talk about God's desire for His people to give generously?
Well, I think we could start in 2 Corinthians 8, just talking about the why we give. Ultimately, what should fuel our giving, and it's Paul's argument is that in 2 Corinthians 8:9, for you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though being rich, yet for your sake He became poor, so that you through His poverty might become rich. And so and Paul is, in context, he is talking about money. He's talking about the Corinthian church and giving. He mentions the churches in the grace of God that was given to the churches of Macedonia, that out of their poverty, they gave sacrificially. And as an example of that, he points to Christ, that we do. Here's why we do this, because this is what Christ did for us. And so it becomes a joy. We've talked about that in other episodes too. I think in the last one, why do we serve? Because Christ came to serve, and He gave us that example. And
it's a pretty good reason for a lot of things. Why do we do this? Because Christ.
Jesus did this.
What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
WWJD.
It's not really what would Jesus do.
I got
what
my bracelet.
did Jesus do?
And
we already have the record.
My T-shirt. And
straight back to 1990. Then,
and my hat.
Yeah. And again, you've got this great establishing verse, 2 Corinthians 8:9. I would argue that's one of the handful of verses in the New Testament that's so unique because it covers the entirety of the gospel in one verse. So John 3:16 is one of those, probably the most well-known one. 2 Corinthians 5:21, God made Him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in Him we might become the righteousness of God. But 2 Corinthians 8:9 is one of those. It's just in the context of financial resources. He was rich, He had everything, leaves heaven, becomes poor, so that us, by His act of doing that, we become rich. That's not the promise that we'll become financially rich, but spiritually so. That He has given of Himself. Now, by His sacrificial work, we benefit from that. And his whole point in 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and chapter 9 is we sacrifice and are generous because others benefit from that. Christ is our model to follow. Absolutely the case.
Yeah, I think we should spend some more time just talking about the why before we get into the practical. What does that look like? You know, is it and just I guess to where we will be going is tithing a New Testament principle? How much should I give?
Right.
What should I give? How should I give? Where should I give? But another passage that comes to mind is Matthew 6, where Jesus says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, but where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in or steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And then the next verse, so this is 22, talks about the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is clear, and your whole body will be full of light. Your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. And I remember, I don't know if this was your experience too, but in high school, like those were verses. I remember hearing sermons in youth group about that basically about watching what you look at.
Yeah, it typically comes out as about lust and pornography.
Yeah, the eye is the lamp of the body.
Yeah.
So be careful, little eyes, what you see, which is true.
Sure,
But this verse
that's not that.
is talking about, so if your eye is clear, he's talking about greed and generosity. Saying if you're set on, if you're generous, if you're storing up for yourself treasures in heaven, then your eye is clear and your whole body will be full of light. Because right after that, he says, no one can serve two masters. Either you'll hate the one and love the other, or will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. So we are generous, first and foremost, because we follow the example of Christ, and we give because out of gratitude for what he's done for us, but also because we care about what God cares about. That he's doing that work in us, and we don't want to store up treasures on earth. We want to. The truth is that you're either going to serve. You're going to serve money. Or you're going to serve the Lord. Money's going to be your master, or God's going to be your master. And I mean that's a biblical principle throughout Scripture.
I think that's kind of related to Luke 16 with the parable of the unrighteous steward. You know, you have these dichotomy here between two guys and the way they're using their wealth, their resources, and you can use it to make friends for yourself here on earth, or you can use it to further the gospel and the kingdom. And at the end of that, in verse 9, it says, "And I said, you make friends for yourselves from the wealth of unrighteousness, so that when it fails, they will take you into the eternal dwellings." You're using your resources that you've been given and blessed with to further the kingdom, and take all your friends with you to eternity. That they're there as well because they've heard the gospel, they've heard the message. They're saved as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's leveraging that wealth, however you want to define wealth, because that's relative. What's wealth in America is not what's wealth in India, things like that. So we have to keep those things in mind. It's based on the context that you're in, and we have to continue to build out these foundational principles. This false message of what's sadly known as prosperity theology, who would look at a 2 Corinthians 8:9 and say, well, God does want you to become rich financially. Like that's why Jesus came. If you just, want to do, his will for you is you never get cancer and you'll be independently wealthy. Well, obviously that's false. The danger is that we overcorrect to the other ditch, known as poverty theology. That, all right, you're a Christian, therefore you have to be poor. So if you're a Christian, you can't drive a nice car, you can't live in a nice house, you can't have nice things, you can't have that bigger TV. That's not true either.
Right.
So you can. The issue isn't about right or wrong. It's should. What are you doing with your resources? If your life is absorbed in more and better things, yeah, you're not honoring God if you have to upgrade, from an 85-inch TV to a 100-inch TV just because you can. Which, if you can, bravo. Well done. That's not the point. The point is, listen,
Wow.
I'm being really faithful with what the Lord has given to me, and He's been so gracious and kind. I can have, like, it's okay to have nice things. It's okay to have a nice house. You don't have to live terribly.
That's right. That's what James says, that He's given us everything for our enjoyment. Is that in James? Yeah, for our enjoyment.
Yeah, 1 Timothy 6, for our enjoyment, because He's a loving Father.
Yeah.
It's okay to enjoy the blessings He's given.
I think that should make us feel tension. Mm-hmm. There should be tension there. And it's not meant to be how we go about enjoying things is not meant to just be flippant. Mm-hmm. we should always be asking, God, what can I do? What can I do with the resources you've given me? They belong to you, to honor you. And I, which is why I say, I've told people a lot, like, and I'm sure you have too, budget, make a budget. If you're not telling your money where to go, then it's your master. It's going.
Yeah, it's telling you where it's going.
And you don't even know, because you don't know where it's going. You're just following your impulses.
Yeah.
But so I think that's a,
Ultimately, I think that's not being a very good steward of it
Yeah, exactly. It's being irresponsible.
by budgeting.
by not budgeting. Yeah.
Yeah. If you budget, you're irresponsible. No, that's the responsible thing to do, because here's what we all know. You're going to spend your money.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fact. You're not going to naturally drift into wealth. That's not how this works. You'll drift into poverty because that's the nature of our greedy hearts.
And you start making more money. Like, say you get a raise.
Yep.
This is the end of the year. Say you get a raise in January. You're just going to start spending more.
Your lifestyle automatically expands to absorb it.
But you don't even really know it.
Yeah.
And we, Kristen and I learned a lot of those lessons the hard way. I'd say most people probably learn those lessons.
Well, most of us aren't taught
the hard
this.
way.
Right. We're not taught this. Because our parents made the same mistakes.
Yeah.
And
Or even if, I remember my dad's always a budgeter and very frugal and was just like, budget. And I'm just like,
but I really want this video game.
And we did. And see, we did budget early on. Kristen and I, we got married when we were 20. And we did budget very on. We just ignored our budget a lot.
Yeah.
So that's another.
Yeah.
That's another thing. You gotta.
But we budgeted.
Yeah, I
But
can
we
show
did
you
it.
the spreadsheet. I haven't looked at it in 3 years, but I do have one. Well, and so we do. I won't say a lot, but we do financial counseling around here. We'll have the occasional financial peace stuff with Dave Ramsey and some classes like that to help folks. But we'll meet individually with people. I'll do it a handful of times a year who they want to give, they want to be more generous, or they're just having some financial struggles. And typically my first question is, do you budget? The answer is always no. Well, always.
Yeah.
So that's our first step is they come in. So I've got a big computer monitor in my office. So they come in and I tell them, all right, you have to give me some access to some numbers. You don't have to give me specifics, but whatever you're comfortable with, but give me some ballparks, income and bills. And we plug it into a spreadsheet. I've got, one that I use. That was actually a free template with Excel. And you plug in, income and then walk through their bills. And we start with what they actually spend. And for most people, it is a moment of shock and disgust of where their money actually goes. That, hey, we make all this money and we don't have any. Well, typically it's going out to eat, things like that. It's the $5 Starbucks every day or a couple times a day. Like, that's a real thing. People really do that. It's just the constant, Man, Amazon having an app on my phone that's a real danger for me, because just look at all this stuff, and then they run those great specials. Holy cow! Listen, on Black Friday, I got a micro tool set that works on firearms for a penny. Oh, isn't that awesome? It was a penny.
Wow.
And they did that because I'll buy other stuff too, which I did. Because if you order $25 or more, the shipping is free. Like, well, I want to be responsible. So instead of spending a penny, I spent $40 to get $4 free shipping. How dumb am I? So anyway, I'll meet with these people.
Pretty dumb.
And
was that rhetorical?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was supposed to be. So thanks for that. He doesn't need a setup.
He doesn't. You're a pro.
So I'll meet with them, and then we adjust those categories around the amounts, and we put a realistic amount in, like, the eating out budget. We put a realistic amount in the Amazon budget, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden there is thousands of dollars freed up to give and to save that they didn't even know was there. It's a very eye-opening experience to go, oh, wow, we have wasted so much money. It's like, well, yeah, budgeting helps you see that.
Yeah.
It's just a realistic picture of what's actually going down. So please do that. And if you need help with that, let us know. We'll help you with that. We do this. We do this.
We do. And there's
problem.
we're doing a financial seminar on March 15th.
Yeah.
Sunday. It's in the evening.
Yep.
As well.
Yep.
So that's something that might be helpful.
Yep. And again, we covered the three things you can do with money: give, save, and spend.
March 15th, 2026.
Yes.
Unless you're listening, just in case you're listening to this in like 2030 and podcasts are still a thing.
There won't be an internet in 2030 because AI is going to take over and it's going to be, Judgment Day, and Skynet's going to do its thing, and we all know it.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Terminator's coming.
Terminator.
Yep. He's coming.
So let's talk about so kind of like, I think, a biblical basis for budgeting and for planning what you are to give. Well, and I think we could. This might spring us into the tithe, but 2 Corinthians 9:7, each one must do just as he has purposed in his heart, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Because I think a lot of the ways we handle generosity is it's on impulse, like everything else, or guilt. Like, oh, they're doing this offering. I'll throw 20 in the box, or I need to do this, which is something.
Yes, that's better than nothing.
Yeah. But the biblical principle is to purpose in your heart, to plan it, and to give it cheerfully. And so budget, I am a huge proponent of budgeting what you're going to give.
Yep.
And so Kristen and I have always done percentage-based giving. My view on the tithe has dramatically changed through the years, and it's different than what I was taught. It was growing up, it was always 10%. Let's get to 10%. For a long time, we gave 10%, and I just felt great about that. We're doing what we're supposed to do. So yeah. What are your thoughts on the tithe and New Testament? Is that a New Testament principle? Do we tithe?
Sort of.
Ish.
Yeah.
Heavy on the ish.
Yeah. So we're introduced to the tithe in Genesis early on, when Abraham comes back from the battle where he rescues everybody, and this mysterious figure Melchizedek shows up, who doesn't show up again until the Psalms, and then again in Hebrews. Sort of a shadow type of Christ to come. Very strange. We know nothing about him in Genesis, but Abraham tithes to him, gives him 10% of the spoil, just out of nowhere, like it was an expected, normal thing. So from that point on, we're kind of introduced to this tithe. Tithe is not the biblical word for giving. Tithe equals 10%. That's what a tithe means, 10%. So he tithes that to him, and that becomes then the standard in the Old Testament law, that they're tithing. Now, that was one of multiple gifts that Old Testament Israelites gave. They ended up giving between 25 and 30% of their income away. It wasn't just the 10%. There was a lot of stuff going on with all of their different offerings and things like that. It was all good stuff. Jesus will mention tithing, Matthew 23, when he's condemning the Pharisees, when he goes through all the 7 woes against them. One of them is, you tithe. Your mint, dill, and cumin, they're spices. Like you're so legalistic that you're taking all the stuff that you get out of your garden at home and you're portioning out 10% of it and giving it to the temple. But he says, but you're ignoring the weightier matters of the law, like mercy and justice. And he says, you should have done the latter without neglecting the former. So care about mercy and justice, these weightier things, but that doesn't mean you neglect the other stuff, like practical giving. That doesn't equal the New Testament standard of giving is therefore 10%. Because 2 Corinthians 8 and 9 changes that.
Yeah.
It's relative at this point.
Yeah, I think it's important to note too that when Jesus says that to the Pharisees there, that while it's written in the New Testament, at that point, they are still under Mosaic law.
Yeah, the new covenant has not come.
Right.
It doesn't until Christ rises from the dead. Yes. Which is why the thief on the cross is not a model of New Testament salvation because he's dying under the old covenant. Christ has not died and risen yet. So it's little things like that the timing matters. Absolutely the case. So it's not like the New Testament turns around and says, 10%, that's a joke. Just give whatever you want. It doesn't do that at all. The New Testament, I would argue the New Testament raises the standard, not lowers it. Not in terms of a higher percentage. That's not necessarily the case. It might be. But the standard of New Testament giving is sacrificial generosity, not a particular percentage. So let's say you are struggling financially, live in poverty, whatever it might be, whatever your scenario is. 10% is a pipe dream for you. 2% would be radical sacrifice for you because of where you're at right now in your life. Okay, that's the standard. You're not failing God by 8%. That's not the case. Sacrificial generosity. If you are an independently wealthy multimillionaire, 10% is probably not sacrificial for you. You need to figure out what sacrifice looks like for you. It's a different amount. It's the same principle, but the amounts are radically different. That's the whole point.
Yeah. And I don't want to be like, look at me. But
what I know about you, John, is you are so selfish and loving the spotlight.
What's that quote? The movie quote? School is for fools. Look at me.
Don't listen to that, folks.
School's great.
Isn't it ironic?
It is ironic.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it is.
Man, that's the second time today I've sang that song.
It is. Where was I going with that?
No idea.
Yeah, so Kristen and I, it again depends on your income. It's not some people work on commission; they work hourly. My job here is salary, and so I know what my income is for the year, and so we sit down about once a year and we do that. We pray and we purpose in our hearts what does sacrificial giving look like for us this year, and we do that and we give cheerfully. And I'm not racked with guilt or wondering, am I giving enough? And something that we also always kind of had this dream, because we racked up some credit card debt early on in our marriage, and we're like, we want to get out of debt. And so on that note, we didn't wait to give until we reached this certain goal. I think that's something else, so that people go that, man, someday I'd like to be a giver. Do something, because if you're not a giver now because you're waiting, you're likely not going to be a giver because it's a posture of your heart. And giving, quite frankly, God uses it to change your heart. But we always wanted to have some money available to just meet needs as we saw them, to be able to respond. And so we budget money for that as well. And we've got a budget and if there's something that we see a need in someone's life, we give it. And I feel weird saying that, because it's, don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. But I hope that's helpful to see, hey, here's an example of what that can look like. If I budget these things in, I can both give to my church, and I can be ready to meet some needs, and then save and enjoy the rest.
Yeah. Be responsible with what the Lord has given you. Enjoy what the Lord has given you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can go to Chick-fil-A for breakfast.
You can. And get some minis, because those are a gift from...
Yeah. They've been giving me an email for free minis, and then I buy something else.
Well, you have to get some hash browns to go with it.
Yeah.
And then something else to drink.
And
how
a
they get
Sunjoy.
me.
Yeah, and frosted coffee.
They got me.
They have generously gifted me a free chicken biscuit today that I need to go redeem now, probably tomorrow.
Yeah, because, it's too late now.
So anyway.
Sadly, you missed your chicken biscuit today.
I know.
So anyway, all that to say, you plan this, make this a real conversation, planned thing. Otherwise, it's going to be based on your emotions, based on your whims. And if your giving is based on that, your purchases are based on that. and that's disastrous. Welcome to American life, where the average person has negative savings every year. That means they've spent themselves into oblivion. That's just
We call that debt.
it's called debt. Yeah, I like it that they call it negative savings. It's like, wait a minute. Or when the government will come out and talk about the economy, we had 4% negative growth. That's not what that's called. That's not a thing.
I think there is hope. There is hope if that's you, and it's that the Lord can change your heart and how you view what you have, how you view the things you want, and the things you think you need. And one of the ways He will do that is by planning and being generous and working hard, making sacrifices to get out of debt.
Being a good steward of the resources He's blessed you with and making the most of them.
Yeah.
So do we have time to talk about where we should give?
I mean, it's our podcast. We
Yeah. Braden, do you have anything to
have
add?
time for whatever we want. Yeah, Braden, come on, tell us your responsible, mature, long life wisdom. I say that because you constantly remind me that I've been preaching longer than you've been alive. So give us your aged wisdom, Yoda.
Speaking as someone who has been in poor financial situations, it's a very real thing to talk about. When you start to give, God will change your heart and it'll change your desires in regards to money, how you spend your money, where you spend your money, when you spend your money. In high school, when I was just a young kid who could do no wrong.
It's like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
just about.
Back when you were a young kid.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Back in the early 2020s.
Yeah.
I refuse to make fun of you. I will build you up. I really appreciate what you're saying right now. I want to hear more.
Well,
Tell me more.
I just spent a lot of money in places that I shouldn't have, and that's a conversation for later. But
No, tell us all now. We want to know.
conversation for later.
All the details. I think your mom's listening. So let's.
Anyway.
So you've just experienced this in a new way
Yes.
recently. So you moved out. You're now living on your own.
Yes.
With rent and all the adulting bills
It
that you now. Yep. Welcome to adulthood. It's terrible. We all hate it. So this is a fresh reality and conversation for you that you've been forced to have just because of the nature of now living independently.
Yeah. And as a byproduct of that, I've sat down with a couple people and budgeted and figured out, all right, this is what I can do. This is what I can't do. And knowing that, having that safety of, okay, I can't spend money today. I can't go get lunch today. I can't go out and spend money for dinner tonight. Like, it's helpful.
As much as you want to buy that gun, you can't buy that gun.
I can't. Well, I did.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I'm still
I'm a
young.
sinner. I am still young. I'm not perfect.
I have shoes older than you.
You do?
Yeah.
I
actually do.
I think you need to walk more.
I guarantee I have shirts in my closet older than
Yeah.
you.
I mean, they're not.
I got rid of. I don't
They're not
fit
the
in the
only
shirts.
shoes I have.
I got rid of all the clothes from that long ago because I stopped fitting in those
Yeah.
long ago,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to see them anymore.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never experienced that. Anyway, John, let's talk about what you wanted to talk about 6 minutes ago.
What did I want to talk about?
Where to give.
Oh yeah.
So, there's a lot of opportunities to give. A lot of places and people asking for money. Giving Tuesday, all of that now happens after Black Friday.
Oh yeah.
All the emails and requests that you get, all the needs around you that people have. The church is constantly asking for money nonprofits are constantly asking for money. So how do you prioritize where you give? That was a real question.
We want to be informed biblically by this. So I think one place you can go is Acts. Acts 4. We were talking about, is it Acts 4 and 5, where they laid what they had at the apostles' feet, and there wasn't a needy person among them. Their church. I think there's multiple passages where Paul will talk about paying gospel workers, paying pastors.
Yep.
And so
1 Timothy 5.
For a long time, and I felt bad about taking money as a salary. I just felt really awkward. I came from, working in, especially early on, I was working in a factory for 4 years before ministry, and I had several other jobs. And there are many pastors who are bivocational, and I respect that.
Absolute heroes.
Highly, but for a long time, I felt bad. It was a really hard transition going from basically just volunteering at church to getting paid at church. But then again, seeing biblically, hey, this is okay. This matters. Helped me.
Yeah.
A lot.
1 Timothy 5:17. It's a real thing for paying those who work hard among us in preaching and teaching. Those who are helping us grow. Pastors are a spiritual investment from the church to collectively put resources together to say, we want you to help us do this. We want it to be your full-time job to study, to research, to read, to do the things for us in that sense.
Yeah.
That's helping our souls grow. So at the end of the day, we're ministry tools. I mean, that's it. And that's why we get paid for that.
Yeah.
It's so that we can invest in those things, take that time to invest in that, and then pour into the people of our church. That's why pastors get paid.
Yeah.
Obviously, that gets abused in a number of environments, but this is the biblical view in terms of how this is to work.
I think also, there's biblical evidence of the church, caring about missions, and meeting the needs of other churches, meeting the needs of other ministries, sending out missionaries, and providing for them financially.
So really, I think there's a solid argument, as you're both touching on there, that giving to the church is an organized method of giving money to kingdom work, where it goes into missions, where it goes into benevolence so that we can help the people, so that the people that need help within the congregation of the community can know where they can go be helped.
Yes.
So I think it's just a good organized method for distributing the means where the resources where they need to go.
And maybe thinking of it this way, just as, and I'm just thinking out loud, just as we've been talking about budgeting helps you to do that personally, giving to your church is a way that we do that collectively. We're caring. It's a way that we're caring about where the money goes to make the biggest kingdom impact. Now, that doesn't mean you can't give to other people, to parachurch organizations as the Lord puts them on your heart. But I would say, and I really appreciated Jason Reichert when the Reicherts, when they talked about their ministry, Bum Ministries. He talked about how they're supported by churches. They're parachurch organizations. They're supported by churches. They're supported by us. They're supported by individuals. And he said, what I always say is, don't give to us at the expense of giving to your church. If you're going to choose, give to your church. I don't know, maybe that's selfish of me. I'm like, I really appreciate that.
Well, obviously there's a biblical component to that.
But it's biblical.
But at the end of the day, the church is the multiplying clearinghouse of those resources. So the average Christian family isn't going to be able to give in any significant way to their church, to the individuals around them, to meet power bills in their county, and support individual missionaries and ministries around the world. Individual Christian families don't do that. The church does that because all of those resources are collectively brought in together and used in that sense organizationally. So the money that you give to the church is multiplied in terms of its impact as it goes out because it's connecting your money, with someone on the other side of the world you didn't even know existed, and paying for them to take the gospel to a country that you may never even go to. Well, you're going to be able to pay for that on your own, but the church collectively can, and that's why it's such a gift. And not just in an individual church, but even denominations do this, and networks of churches do this, and all of that multiplies those resources in ways we could never do alone.
Yeah.
That's a gift. Because you've got it in Acts 4, and this principle of sacrifice shows up there as well. It doesn't say they just gave out of their abundance, though they did. They sold stuff. They sold fields. They sold things they need and want for the sake of helping others. Chapter 5 is a dark era. Where
that's a good
Ananias and
example of
Sapphira,
that.
Blow it.
That Barnabas sells a field.
Yeah, Barnabas does it.
And gives cheerfully. So he purposes in his heart, 2 Corinthians 9, what to give. He does it cheerfully. He meets needs. Ananias and Sapphira do the same thing. They sell a field, but they lie about the price. Yep. And Peter's just like, you didn't have to. You could have just given us what you basically what you purposed in your heart. But they lied about it, and God strikes them dead.
God kills them both. It's all fun and games till God kills people in church. That just don't mess around with this stuff.
Yeah.
So Barnabas gets it right, they get it wrong. I think you see this in Malachi as well, of the church being this clearinghouse. When God offers that, test me in this, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. That's the temple. Bring all of this in to this centralized place where it can be sent out to the nation. That's the goal, is bring it all together and then collectively send it all out. So this is a principle across the testaments, across the covenants for sure, to minister and help to others.
And that was a testimony for the early church. That was a testimony to the world. And that, a watching world says, look how they love one another. To have not a needy person among them. What? I'm like, how do we get there?
Yeah. How
I
awesome
can't
is
even
that?
say the words because I can't even picture it. And what does that look like? And how do we do that? And, I think God, and that's something we're working towards, that God in his grace is helping us with. And as a church, we're getting out of debt right now. And as long as I'm breathing, we will never get into debt again. I'm going to make that a soundbite.
Yeah. Amen.
And then if I ever want to get a loan someday, you can just come in and play it. As long as I'm breathing.
Yep.
I'll say, did I say that?
John, we can get this loan, but it's going to cost you your life. You can't breathe anymore. Sorry, bud. Yeah, we need to remodel. You're dead. Dead. Well, on that note of taking John's life, thank you guys for the conversation. This one's gone a bit longer than the other ones. This is such an important issue, critical issue for believers. If we could get this one right, we'd change the world. If we'd get our personal finances right, our church's finances right, we would literally change the world because of it. The needs that could be met is unreal.
And then the freedom that God's people are meant to have, that both spiritually but just practically is just so unlike what the world has. And what a testimony that would be.
Let me give a specific illustration of this. You can keep, it won't take long. You can keep the music going. It's okay.
Turning it off.
All right, whatever. So obviously we've already discussed that 10% is not the New Testament standard. If it were, all right, let's talk about percentage giving. The average Christian in America gives 2.5% of their income. So that's 1/4 of a tithe. So if the church, the collective church in America, if all the Christians tithed, if everybody got to such a place where they gave 10% instead of the average 2.5%, that difference is $185 billion a year.
Wow.
Collectively in America.
Well,
That amount of money in 1 year, 185 billion in 1 year, that solves the global water crisis in 1 year. The American church could ensure the globe has clean drinking water in a year if our giving changed. Like that's the impact this can have. And that's just 1 year. What could we do the next year? Holy cow. We could solve the orphan crisis. Yeah. What could we do the year after that? Anything we wanted. That's the answer to that question. This is the power of what God can do through the generosity of his people. Change the world.
Yeah.
What a gift. So thanks, guys, for the great conversation. And we'll pick up with you all in the next episode. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.